Hey folks, it's Jeremy Kirkland. You're listening to Blammo. How we all doing? Happy holidays, or happy whatever day it is whenever you're listening to this. I get it. Some people, they like to let podcasts marinate a bit. You're like, I'm going to download this. I'll sit on it for a bit. Maybe wait till the next time I'm on a plane, a train, whatever. I get it. It's a busy world. But this week, very special episode. I mean, look, they're all special episodes, right? But sometimes you get really lucky because you get someone on a good day, or I might do a pod and you just really connect with someone. And that was especially my guest this week. It was musician, artist, and composer from England, Mr. Keaton Henson. Now, Keaton, if you do your research about him, he's a very private person, and he's not so much a big fan of doing press or talking about himself. And let me be clear, that's totally fine. I don't think anyone ever needs to be that guy with the billboard walking around, pointing to themselves at all times, constantly broadcasting everything they do. You don't need to do that. You can be an amazing artist and just let your art speak for itself. And Keaton's one of those guys. He is also one of my favorite artists and musicians. It's a brilliant songwriter. And he writes songs. It's kind of hard to explain a bit, but he writes songs that make you just want to play the music all the time. Does that make sense to you? Like, there's certain bands, certain musicians, composers, whatever you want to say, and I only want to listen to it I'll listen to this when I'm happy. Or it's like, no, man, I put this on at the gym. This is my Megadeth that I'm doing to get a pump in. But Keaton's music, it's just on. You want it on in the background. You want it on while you're doing dishes. You want it on while you're listening. You want it while you're solely focusing. It's that good. Because he's got this thing about his music where you just want to play a song again immediately after you heard it, because there's so much good stuff. You want to be sure you didn't miss anything. If you don't know what I'm talking about, maybe you just need to listen to Keaton's music. But it was an amazing pod. Keaton and I talk about his new album, Parader, good clothes, big jumpers, suits as armor, life in Little Surrey, collecting, and what he's into these days. It's all in there. Here we go. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm predictably anxious, but no more so than any other Friday.
Yeah.
Well, no, slightly more so, but
what's been happening over there? Because you're on new music press mode.
I am, which is really it's new for me. I don't usually do press. So it's been strange.
It is. I think in a lot of ways, I mean, I worked in the music business for a long time, and there's seeing the evolution of how people not only make their music, but how people have to communicate about their music is, I used to be like, man, it's bullshit. We're totally destroying the beauty of this art, and you just got to explore it on your own, man. And you got to get it. You don't need to hold someone's hand.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, well, maybe it is kind of nice.
Yeah.
When you have the artist giving you additional context. I don't know. I feel like the larger thing, I feel like because there's so much music and art that's being thrown out there right now.
So much, yeah.
In some ways, I don't feel like I'm allowed to experience it unless I have the guidance of the person that created it.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I wrestle with it because I have questions. There's so many records that I listen to, and I'm like, I have so many questions. I really need to know.
Right?
I really need to know what you mean there. I love to think and interpret stuff myself, but I also specifically really need to know if that means what I think it means. So I think there is totally a place, but I think it's a weird reference, but maybe not that weird. But when I was young, and when I was in college, a friend of mine just brought me a when we used to burn each other's CDs. Yeah. In the 1800s. And my friend brought me the CD, and it just said the words Patrick Wolf on it, which was, did you know Patrick Wolf's work?
Okay.
So it's just which in itself is an enigmatic name. It's it's evocative. Mm-hmm. And then I just listened to this record, and it was totally of another world. I was the sounds were just so it just transported me to this like completely mystical, amazing England. And I knew nothing about him. And I think I probably could have gone online and looked, but I think I remember at the time sort of really revering that the sort of space where I just knew their name.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like, and then I saw a photo and he looked amazing. Like, and he had like a fur wrapped around him and like, was standing in the moors, and it like that just like elevated it so much more. And I think I've gone my whole life without ever really researching him.
Really?
I think we know some of the same people. I just don't ask. It's just like, and I think there is something, I think the personal relationship you can create and form with something you have little context around is kind of profound. So it's I find it really difficult. And then just selfishly, I find this really scary. So I'm just like, don't make me talk about. But yeah, everyone's been really sort of great about finding just like people. It's just about people, like people that are going to be understanding and not, because it is like a world of clicks now, like, and I think that some people are just like, understandably, are kind of like, what can I get out of this conversation that it can be easily boiled down to like 3 words on a thumbnail kind of thing. And I think that I can sense that sometimes, that it's sort of like, I
think about that a lot because I'm, unfortunately and maybe fortunately, like a huge Beatles fan. And so I'm always like, man, if John Lennon was on Instagram, what would his stories be like? Would he be, or like what era of fits would the Beatles be in right now? It's like what, in a weird way too, I think because of the little bit of access that was there from that time, the fact that the only way you could hear, any sort of direct feedback or what was going on with the Beatles or, at these times was through British press or through some type of press thing, or the stuff would be totally, subverted out of context from like, the Beatles being bigger than Jesus quote and all this stuff. I'm like, oh man, like, but what if it was just John Lennon on Instagram going live?
Just explaining what cuckoo kajou means.
Yeah. I'm like, would we be into that? Or would he be like, oh man, that's what it is? Next.
Well, I think so I feel like, I mean, perhaps predictably, if anyone knows my music, but I like to just kind of like be a bit of a bummer about it. I've been thinking about this for the last kind of few records, and the sort of social media pressure is really interesting to me, and I think and it's partly me being selfish as someone who doesn't like attention and putting myself out there other than with my work. And I barely like putting myself out there with my work, but the selfless, or I suppose also still selfish part of me is genuinely concerned about, there are certain artists I think of, and I think, would that artist be able to, as if they were starting now, to create the exposing content that would be necessary to poke above the waves, and would they be able to? Would it be in their personality to do that? And there's so many artists. I just worry about the Elliott Smiths that we're not getting now, because I don't think. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if he would have necessarily. His music was so incredible, but like, would it have poked through the algorithm if he wasn't doing really attention grabbing TikTok? So I think that's my only concern is, are we missing some Elliott Smiths right now? Like, are they in their basements not filling our ears?
Yeah. Wow. Shit, that's huge. Cause Elliott Smith is my little sort of secret weapon when I'm having a weird day.
Yeah.
Or when I'm trying to, like I still noodle a ton and play guitar. I more play like Jim Croce for my kids, on guitar now.
Nice.
But like, I'll sit and sometimes I'll dissect, some Elliott Smith songs. I'm like, dude was an insanely good guitarist, and like the voicings and like so much stuff. There's so many things good there. But yeah, you're right in the sense that, there's not a ton of press, but also, in context of what you just shared, if Elliott Smith was online, was in this information age more that we're in now, do you think he'd still be alive? Like, do you think he would have had a better way to access mental health and support that maybe would have protected him further? I mean, that is a very tough question to answer, so you don't even have to answer. But
yeah,
I'm
you
like,
just gotcha'd me. I've
no,
been
I
gotcha'd
did
right
not.
up. You're right. I mean, I think that is, but on this flip side of it, if we're going down such a
this is wild. I did not anticipate us going here this quick. This is great.
But I think the one thing I would say is for an artist, sort of to use that in the lofty sense, but also just the music industry sense of the word. I think it is engaging with it and seeing the responses in a social media context is inherently harmful to me. Like, so I just don't engage at all. And I think maybe, I don't know, yeah. But I'm actually not someone who is just like, we should just go back to like banging rocks together. But it's just that concern of just like, the amount of times that it's been suggested that I be funny and relatable, and I'm happy to be funny and relatable, but with my friends and family. But I don't. It's just something I don't feel comfortable like, and just the sort of like the pressure, I guess, to be funny, relatable, performative, but also just open up your life is like a lot of. I just think there's so many people that would be like allergic to that, who are amazing musicians like Elliott Smith, but also aren't singing like amazing vocal runs that can be chopped into like a 5-second thing that immediately like, whoa. Their music was much more about, with him singing like an a cappella of My Feelings Never Change a Bit. I always feel like shit. I don't know why, but I just do. Like with that line, be enough to. But when you hear it in his records,
for someone to do a TikTok dance too.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, maybe I feel like I've immediately just sort of aged myself and become this curmudgeonly. That's my thoughts on that stuff, I guess.
No, I think that's really human. I mean, of course. Is there anyone that's out there that's actually telling the truth when they just put, art or music out there and they're like, this is the best? It's like, for me, even from getting dressed to even, podcasts, right? I'll sit and I'll listen back and I'll be editing something or I'll talk to my editor and I'm like, oh my God, I'm such a fucking idiot. I was like, why did I say? I was like, dude, what you didn't even, you could have gone there. And it's like, I'm like, man, I just want to put something out and just be okay with it. And, and then just let that live and breathe and know that you're going to continue to live and breathe and then you can do something again.
Yeah, but you're essentially just putting out, I don't envy you. You're essentially putting out improvised live records.
Well, there's no
basis.
Music, but sure. Yeah.
But there's your whatever you capture in that time is what you capture. And I think like, at least when I am inevitably beating myself up about a record once it's out, I can at least be like, well, I did spend ages on that mix and I wasn't going to spend any more weeks on it, or but I think that or maybe there's some freedom in that for you. You're just like, that's the conversation that occurred. Yeah,
I think that's the thing too, where it's in some ways because of how much content is out there. There is, if you're the person who's experiencing it, you don't maybe value it as precious as the person that created it. Yes. And so I try to remind myself of that on anything I do, where I'm like, look, like you can just do it again. And I think to have, real sort of joy in being any type of artist, to know that you are the artist and you can make something again, and to know that like it's not just this flash in a pan that will never happen again, especially with music, right? I mean, because when you think of, you're a perfect example, right? Where I've seen YouTube videos of you playing a song. I've heard recordings of you playing a song, and they're different. They're the same song, but they're different. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like there's a different part of that performance that was captured, whether it's a vulnerability or even just like an intonation of an instrument that kind of, gives me a bit of a head turn where I'm like, oh, what's happening there? And I think that for me is beautiful because I can continue to try to understand more of, your work through all these multiple performances. But I'm curious for yourself, when you're writing a song, are you ever like, hey, I wrote this and it's for me, and I'm going to record it, but I'm not going to like, this is just a thing that I wanted to make it so I could just get it out of there and pull it out of my head. And now I can do something else.
I think that's nearly everything I write. I think it's sort of almost necessarily, like, I think if I was thinking about you, like I would, not you specifically, but if I was thinking about the person who's going to be listening to it, like, I think it would affect the catharsis for me, that it would impact like the catharsis of writing. So it is just me being like, but I have had songs where it's fallen out and I've gone, oh, thank God. Like I was holding it in, like I couldn't, like it was a loose tooth. And then that is quite often followed by, oh God, I've got to record it. Like now I've got to make the definitive version of that thing. But I think so that, but I think that's something that's really, really crippling for a lot of musicians I know, is that idea of like, this is the version of this thing that means a huge amount, this song that means a huge amount to me. The way I get through that is by thinking about catalog, I guess. So like,
okay,
yeah. The way that I tend to think about this is like, I'm not somebody who is kind of, I guess, to go back to the social media thing, trying to be like, just, I want as many people as possible to listen to this 15 seconds, because it's a really good 15 seconds. It's just not something that's appealed to me. So I think I'm much more like a tiny little shop with a half closed door. And if you happen to walk past and like just the weird little things in my window, you can come in, and I want it to just be like, it goes on forever. And you can really just spend hours in there if you want to. But you just don't have to come in. Like it's, so I think about this idea of like, sometimes I've discussed like artists with friends and said like, oh, are you a fan of this artist? And they just go like, oh, it's just too much. Like I like.
Oh, who's the artist that you say?
Who's an artist like that? Like Tom Waits is one of those artists. There's like, there's just so much to get into, and there's so many different Tom Waitses.
Yeah.
And I think it can feel really overwhelming to people, and that's like totally understandable. But I love the idea. Sometimes I'm just like, sometimes I hear a song and go like, God, that's great. And I open up their, see how many records they've put out, and they've put out like 22, and some of them are like symphonic death metal records. And I'm just like, oh yes, like I'm just going to absolutely spend the next few months really like exploring all the facets of this person. And I think what you were sort of saying about that thing of like, I've captured this thing, is if I'm not happy with something and I'm like, that's not how I wanted to capture it, I just think of it as like, that's what I sounded like at that point in my life. And that's a really nice thing for people to find later and sort of hear. You can hear my voice changing. You can hear, I think sometimes in my records, you can hear that I haven't quite got the confidence in a sound yet, but then the next record, you can hear that I have. So yeah, I'm all about leaving behind a huge box of photos of my life that no one might ever dig up. But if someone does, it will be a really interesting way to spend your time, just going through and hearing.
Well, you say hearing, but what was it? I mean, oh God, I just watched this video of you. Past it. Okay, first off, beautiful song.
Thank you.
Let's take that and set it aside for this moment, because a lot of your music, while yes, I can sit and listen to it and I think it's very beautiful and it can move me in different directions and I enjoy it, but I think you're as much, and I mean this with love, you're as much of a visual artist as you are a musical artist, because I mean, the Passive music video is beautiful. It's I mean, it's fun, like it's enjoyable. I mean, there's a color story that's happening. There's, it's a nice little break from my day. And so I'm curious about some of these things, because like a lot of people are like, oh, Keaton Henson, this musician, and it's like, well, yeah, but like you're kind of a visual artist too. Yeah. So I mean, how much of that stuff is intentional in your head when you're, say, writing a song? Where you're like, oh, like the example, like the TV, into all the different versions of yourself that are performing the same song.
Yeah, so much so. I think again, I think it's so. Firstly, that was my kind of, it's what I did before I was a musician, and it was what I used to
illustration and art.
Yeah, sort of visual art, and it was something that I was kind of like annoyed about when I was young because it was just assumed that was what I was going to be from a really young age. From like, I was okay at drawing quite young, so I think everyone was like, well, that's what he's going to do, and it was something that I was really interested in always and spent all my time doing. Then as I got older, I sort of felt that rebellious itch of like, I'm going to do another thing then. Like I don't. So I think, but then I couldn't. It's inevitable that I came back to it, and the art of trying to figure out what a sound looks like is something that I still think. I think album art is like one of my favorite art forms. I just think it's like it's so much fun to hear a record and be like, but how do I explain that sound in one image that can be seen really, really tiny on a
thumbnail on someone's phone these days.
That is kind of immediately like, even at that small scale, you'll have some vague sense of what it's going to sound like. I think that's an amazing challenge. So there's that, but I also, it's such a huge part of the cathartic experience for me. So I think I've realized as I've got older, like I think what it is like that my songs are tend to be inherently about things that I wouldn't like bring up in conversation. Like I tend to go straight to it would be awkward. I tend to go straight to like the darkest, deepest parts and work through things that not only would I not bring up in conversation, but I probably try not to think about in my day-to-day life. And then it's in those moments that I can focus on it. Yeah, so I think that in itself is cathartic and is helpful to me psychologically to work through that thing. But also while I'm working through it, to try and soften it with wordplay and the words I choose and the melodies I use. And it takes these things that are unthinkable for me in a day-to-day and makes them art, I suppose, but then I don't see the process of catharsis to be finished until I've then wrapped it up in like really beautiful wrapping paper. And it's at once kind of covering it and commodifying it. And these things that make my daily life difficult are now aesthetically represented, but in a beautiful way and packaged, and then I send it out into the world for other people to deal with. And that's the point at which I feel, and the music video is a part of that wrapping. But that's the point at which I feel like I'm done, like or that the catharsis is complete. And I just start again, try and think of something else that's really bothering me. But yeah, so I think that I see it as like so important, but not kind of commercially, but just personally, that the artwork is part of that.
Did you ever feel that in your case, going from more of the traditional art of like illustration and design and stuff, not making your soul living off of it helps you make better art? I say this in the sense that, like, to provide context for listeners, where a lot of people feel, and I've shared with this too, where it's like the ability to make a living off your art generally requires a level of compromise that may not be welcomed if you're really specific about the art you're creating.
Yes. Yeah.
So, I'm just kind of adding that in there where, like, if you're just making it for yourself and there's not an actual, like, I have to live off of this and pay my bills, then you don't have to compromise on anything. So I'm just kind of curious if maybe you moved into the music as a way where it's like, well, I'm okay with compromising on some of these things and I can make a living, but then this other stuff here stays preserved.
Yeah, I think probably. Yes. But I'm also a really great client. Like I'm very open to all my ideas, and
that's good.
Yeah,
that's great, actually.
So all my pitches go down really well. I think there is always compromise, and I think, but I think potentially maybe I kind of got pigeonholed slightly as a visual artist into a very specific kind of aesthetic, and I think I knew that I really wanted to do other stuff, and I think I can see in my album art and my merch and all the stuff early on that I just went so naive, like just like
naive,
like because I was doing really tight, detailed illustration at the time before, and then as soon as I started making records for myself, like none of my album covers or merch is that. I went straight to like toddler drawings, like just really loose kind
but
of
it's really good though.
Yeah, I think it was just what I knew I wanted to do, and it's what I knew that like my music would be best represented by visually.
Okay.
So the idea of just like being able to do that, because it wasn't that that wasn't a commercial style, I suppose. So I probably did just like I was just like I'm probably going to be the only client that will let me do this kind of album art, so I'm just gonna do it. And then that first record, when I first released Dear, I did
because you came out of nowhere for a lot of people, and it was like, whoa, who is this guy?
Really?
Yeah, and no, in the best way. People were just like, what the hell is happening?
God,
like
who's
everyone's
this guy?
scrambling.
Get him out! Get him away from me.
No, come on.
Yeah, I when I put that record out, I hand drew like the first 200 covers, so it was printed onto a sleeve, and like, so I think down to the point of like wanting to be able to like to have every record cover be a completely different thing. So it was just, I was just kind of, I guess I was just creating for myself like the most open brief and just like playing in it. It was really fun.
Yeah. Do you ever, have people come up to you and ask to like purchase things or try to, like, is there like almost like an archive of some of the visual stuff that you've done in supplement to the music that people have been like, are you selling that TV from that video? Like, right. I want to, I want to own a piece of the Henson universe here.
No one's approached me necessarily. I know I've been told that people are searching for this guy.
Yeah.
Do you know of him?
Well, the little puppy guy. I mean, to be honest, it looks like almost a Precious Moments doll.
I don't know is that an American?
Oh yeah, Precious Moments were these things with like exaggerated, cutiness, oversized heads and large eyes, and yeah, he's holding up the dog from. This is from
Monument. Album,
yeah.
And he's just I just think he's just the best object on the planet. It's just like so sad that it's funny to me. So I know that there's like a hunt for other versions of him happening. I've been told. But no, apart from that, like just I guess because I do like I still do art exhibitions, so that's like a place where people can come and buy stuff. But I don't need that TV anymore. If anyone does want it, it's just
careful. Yeah. You'll get somebody's trying to get in touch with you. Like, yeah, here's my address. I'll get it couriered.
I bought it for £1.50. That TV.
Really? Shit.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. So what are the things that you're doing when you're not having to make music or art? Like what's a regular day look like? Is it a nice long walk? Is it a big cup of coffee?
It usually involves a walk of some description, but to be honest, it is mostly the art thing, and then an enforced walk at some point, just so I leave the house, just to kind of like, okay, I should probably leave the house. But do
you bring your phone with you when you leave the house?
I try not to. I'm not like a huge taking pictures of like. I do genuinely try to just go and look at a nice thing and not take a picture of it. So for that reason, I tend to leave it. But I live in a very remote place, and you can pretty much walk in any direction, and you'll be in like dense woods or like amazing fields and stuff. So I do lots of being out there when I can. Mm-hmm. I'm potentially more social than people might think. And not necessarily like, I don't know, I'm not out partying, but like I have friends, and being
you got a group chat
is good. Yeah, I got some group chats on the go.
There he is.
And and then just, but I spend most of my time doing this because it's just my favorite thing to do. But it also I'm probably addicted. It's probably like an addiction. I don't know, but I just make music and art, and I think because I do lots of things, I don't get bored. So if I'm bored of writing songs, then I go and do a painting, and if I'm bored of that, I'll write a classical thing.
Right.
So it's really lucky. I'm so lucky to be able to do that. It means that I can just do it all day.
Damn it.
Yeah.
I'm very envious.
Yeah. Having said that, it's a terrible career choice. Like you should if I was being an A&R, I would say do one thing and just keep doing it really, really well, sort of, rather than making people listen to your like weird musical tangents just because you were bored of writing pop
I don't know.
stuff?
I'd push back. I mean, I'm still on the hunt for like cool looking Bob Dylan paintings that maybe someday I could afford.
Yeah, that would be nice.
You got Paul McCartney's photography. I mean, everyone wants, and I think this is almost kind of like to some of the stuff we were talking about in the beginning, where the multiple avenues at which people can connect with an artist, whether it is Jonathan Anderson's coffee cups, right? The designer and like the mugs and stuff that they're doing. And not just on a commerce aspect, but the ability to have something in common with a person that they admire.
Yeah.
And so like having all these different mediums at which you can communicate and share things about yourself. In a lot of ways, I wish everyone was like this, because that is, we're all so much more alike than we realize.
Yeah.
I mean, and just having things like that, and where, okay, fine, maybe there was a song you did and it was a person didn't like it as much as a music video for this, or a painting you did for something like that, but it still allows a level of like connection, which I think maybe now, and maybe I sound kind of ooey gooey with some of this stuff, but like it's fucking wild out there. And so anytime you can have these like beautiful moments of, humanity, you're like, oh, okay, this is actually what we're striving for right now, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think I guess that's what I'm looking for musically. Like when I'm looking for music to listen to, more and more I'm looking for, I'm just looking to have the same feeling, like to have the feeling as though I've just had a really great conversation. Like, when you've just like met someone, you didn't fall in love, you didn't get anything out of it. Nothing was given to you, but you just feel like, oh, that was I really just connected with another human being. What a great conversation. Like that's what I'm looking for now. And I think that is, I think that you're right. I think having different avenues of an artist and being able to see different facets of them is helpful in feeling that level of connection.
Yeah. To talk about some of the clothes stuff too, because I don't know if you're aware of this, but like you got some very elevated taste on these fits, my friend here.
Really? Oh God.
Yeah. No, that doesn't mean you're on a pedestal now. It just means it looks like you care.
Oh, really?
So I'm curious if you actually do.
I care about, I think that, the first few records, like I think I wore a suit.
Yeah.
And it was very much armor. Like, I did not want to be looked at.
Who made the suit?
I think they were pretty cheap suits. Like I would just go and grab them. But I just sort of knew I didn't want to be, I don't know. I didn't want to be looked at. And I felt that if that version of me, that facet of me was being looked at, it was like deflected. It didn't feel like I was being looked at. So it was total armor. And then and then it started to feel a bit like a stranger. Like I just felt kind of like, I'm not just that facet. There's other shards of me. And I think I did sort of, honestly, mostly subconsciously start thinking kind of like, so when I did House Party, that I wore a pink suit for that but I kind of gave myself the excuse of the fact that I was kind of playing a character, a different an alternate universe version of me. But the idea of wearing something different just, I think, made me feel like, oh, I can, like as well as musically, I can kind of, it made me less frightened to not be wearing an itchy black suit.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a bit of freedom in that. And I think even for myself and like a bunch of other listeners, where, to change how you look to other people, sure, that's how it might look. But oftentimes for me, like even today, like I was like, I got this denim jacket. I'm actually just going to wear essentially the same denim pants. And I'm like in a full Canadian tuxedo here.
Good for you.
And I was like, is this how I want to present myself today? And I was like, fuck it. Hell yeah. I was like, let's go.
Yeah, no, it's it's the creative, like choosing what you wear every day is the creative choice. Whether you're someone who says, oh, I don't really care about fashion, like you still make that creative choice every day.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's the creative choice that every single one of us, except for nudists, makes every morning.
Yes. Okay. Correct on the nudists.
We wake up and so like the people that it's a really, I think it isn't, it's a valuable creative choice that we make every day, and that's interesting.
Well, being in the countryside, you don't really have much of a runway. I'll put that out there.
That's why I
so like, is there things that you ever look at, or maybe they're just in your head, that you'll do to kind of get inspired of different ways to present yourself? Or, all the different jumpers. You got an amazing Technicolor Dreamcoated jumpers going on.
That's this. Thank you for using the English terms. I can understand.
Trying to.
So actually, I think what it's become has become like finding parts of myself that I haven't necessarily, because I do live in the countryside, and I don't really have to dress like any. I can wear whatever keeps me dry. So I don't make. So it's been an opportunity to say like, oh, is there a facet of myself that I'm not representing in what I'm wearing? So it's kind of been interesting, and I think that the jumpers for this record have been, I'm sort of and just like I'm totally regressing basically. It's just like my I think my teenage self is kind of clawing out and being like, why are you wearing? Wear what we wear. So I don't know. I think there's something about my youth that I'm expressing with this record, and it's genuinely quite subconsciously manifested in what I'm wearing in the videos and stuff, I think.
I believe many people refer to that as confidence, because when you're old enough, you can go back to the things that you did when you weren't really old enough, and now you're like, no, I'm doing this. Whether you're buying the thing that you couldn't get when you were younger, or you're really leaning into that part of yourself that was more experimental. I do that all the time, where there's a part of me that's like, no, like I'm buying the Pokemon card now.
Nice. Yeah. I think there probably is a bit of that.
It's great. It's a good feeling.
Yeah.
It's foreign though.
It's very, I feel like my response to that was very English, that when you said it sort of accused me of being confident, that I was immediately like, oh God, I should address that. It's a very English response to being told that you're confident. It's but I think it is that, and I think it's it's. Do you ever have like fake conversations with your teenage self and wonder if they're like, depending on my mood, sometimes my younger self is like super excited that this is what I grow up to be. And then there's other times where I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you making that music? Like, and I think this record, I'm slightly addressing that guy and just sort of saying like, because there are parts of me that I left behind that I feel like, I was sort of, I guess, mostly referring to like emo and post-hardcore and like all of that stuff. And I think, I honestly think just teenage me was at one point was just like, oh, come on, drop D and just like put the
That's a tuning
up.
For listeners.
That is a tuning, yes.
It's a nice one finger bar chord tuning, which is still one of the best tunings ever.
It is,
unless you're going to get into Dadgad.
Dadgad's great. But he's probably saying Dadgad, but just like a kind of. So I think that's also what I'm doing.
But like I feel like that in and of itself is the best, in the sense that, so I say this like my daughter she's about to turn 8.
Okay.
And she just hit this moment in her life where she's now becoming more aware of how other people think of her.
Mm-hmm.
And to where when she was younger, there was this blissful ignorance of it didn't matter what another kid was wearing or what another kid liked or watched, whatever that was. She enjoyed these things because there was something about it that just gave her happiness.
Yeah, it's the point at which you stop going to school, you stop wanting to go to school dressed as Spider-Man.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And the other day she came home and she was like, Dad, are my shoes bad? And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, well, she has these like red shoes. They're from this like Japanese, whatever. They're great. But I was like, well, what do you mean? What's wrong with them? And she's like, well, this kid said my shoes are ugly. And in my head, I wanted to be like, well, fuck that kid, man. That kid's a loser, which I did not say on the record. But I was like, oh, I'm so sorry that happened. Could you tell me a little bit more about that? And she's like, yeah, they said my shoes were ugly. And I was like, well, how did that make you feel? I was like, do you think they're ugly? And she was like, she thought for a bit and she was like, no.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, great. You're going to have people that do that. But I think she, my heart broke when I heard her be concerned about what other people thought of her. And on one way, you want every person to have that, so they can empathize, right? But on the other hand, when I'm like, that's just an empty criticism. Your shoes are ugly. Like, get out of here.
That's that's not a real. Ugliness isn't a real thing. It's not
correct.
It doesn't exist. Yeah.
And so I was like, man, and it's funny because you have all these emo bands that are blowing up right now because they can go on tour and just crush it money wise because all the people that were into them, now are, I don't know, work for a hedge fund or something. They got cash so they can throw down for Panic at the Disco, tour. But everyone's like screaming that stuff because it's like they're able to go back and unlock the self into which they were the most like vulnerable and happy and joyful. And it's like, oh man, that's why I turned the radio up.
Yeah.
That's why I put that song on. It's so I'm constantly seeking and trying to understand like, where did that feeling go and how do I get back to that? And it sounds like you also wrestle with that on your own.
100%. And I think that the fact that you just said vulnerable and happy and joyful is exactly the thing that I started looking back on and thinking, it was a time where being emotionally fragile, you suddenly like would walk into a room and it was full of people being praised for their emotional fragility and kind of being like really tough about it. Like, so I guess the sort of bands I'm thinking of is like, I don't know that I don't know the name of the waves, but was like when I first discovered like Sunny Day Real Estate and Braid and Mineral and stuff, and it was like, it was loud, it was chaotic, it was kind of like, it was scary to others, but if you knew, then you knew it wasn't scary. It was about fragility. It was about emotional openness and stuff. And I think it was for me it was just a really profound thing to suddenly be able to, I guess, like not even celebrate, but just stop hiding that fragility and wear it like a really cool hoodie. Like it was and the kind of the chaos of it, I found those people, just like those bands, so inspiring when I'd walk into these rooms. And I was very anxious at the time, so I was standing at the back of the room like feeling really anxious, and then like the explosion of movement and like just total lack of self-awareness,
just being completely undignified.
Completely. And there's a few specific sort of moments I can remember just seeing that and thinking like that's an incredible superpower to be able to do that.
Well, I don't know how much you read your own YouTube comments.
I do not.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to read them to you, but I will tell you that what you were talking about you enjoyed, you have become that for many people. And I'm curious about that, where it's like, just reading some of these things where people are like, oh my God, thank God Keaton's back. Like, where was this? I need this. Like, I needed this ages ago. Like, I'm so glad, like, all of this joy that people are getting from your music. And I say this that, like, I'm not, you don't have to be proud or what, I don't know, take it and do with it whatever you will. But I think that's a wonderful feeling. And when you were talking about that feeling you had with these other bands, to now understand that you're that person for other people, it's kind of cool, no?
It is. It's scary. I find because that, like, it's because of that sort of feeling of like, oh, I don't like being looked at and stuff. I find all of it scary. But the older I get, I used to just say to myself, if I could write one song and one person heard it and it meant as much as there's so many bands artists that I would say this about, but like if this person makes me feel, I could make one person feel that way. So it's something I really need to hold on to, is that like I do feel I've done that with at least one person, and if it's more, it's just, I don't know, kind of unfathomable. And I think it's really difficult for me to talk about this without like clutching my chest and saying how honored and grateful I am and humbled, because that would feel really insincere. But like it's a true gratitude, like not a performative gratitude. It's like a real feeling of that's but kind of, it's like, because it's so huge for me, it kind of feels unfathomable, and I don't want to look directly at it, and it frightens me.
I agree. I mean, because also the concept of now you can fail is being put in the limelight, where you're like, well, wait, what if that person changes their mind? Is there something that I'm going to do?
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
Because I mean, that's the elephant in the room, right?
No, that's totally it. And I think that for me, because I'm the way I am, I think that as soon as I recognize that in people, and because I don't engage in like the socials and read press and stuff like that, the time I really saw it was people coming up to me, and I could see that I had meant that to these people. And because of the way I am, the first thing I thought was like, God, they're going to be so disappointed the moment I start talking.
Nah,
and
I mean, it's real, sure.
It's haunted me forever. Just that I perhaps because I tried to sort of Patrick Wolf myself as much as possible and not give everyone the details of of the whole picture of my like who I am day to day and what I eat and all of that stuff. That I was immediately like, I can't live up to it. So that was, but yeah, that is something that I struggle with. But the older I get, I feel a genuine sort of unfathomable gratitude. I also feel with this record particularly, it's like hit me like a wave that it's truly insane that like people have allowed me to be as indulgent in genre as I have been, and I hadn't thought about it. Like it's not something I just thought like, oh, I'm going to make a classical record now, and then finish that and be like, oh, I might do a grunge thing. So really, like it was like an arrogant thing to do. Just assume
it's great.
that everyone
you're exploring.
will. But people, the fact that like when I first put out a classical record, and everyone was just like, okay. And now looking back as a someone who's been in this industry for a long time, that was wild. People should have just been like, okay, go away. But people just accepted it. I think that, I think my music maybe like attracts, but maybe just like in some way attracts people that are just like really understanding of that and really open and sort of generous. So that in itself, I'm grateful for.
Well, I think as a musician too, you heard that music and you're like, okay, this dude knows what he's doing. This isn't a guy who learned 6 chords on YouTube and, and is putting together G, C, D, E minor as a song, right? Like this is legit stuff where there's proficiency, there's an understanding of the art, and where I feel like when a musician is able to explore all these different genres, I think it helps, it raises the level of all the genres. The fact that we have to call it genres is stupid anyway, but like
Agreed.
It raises that understanding to where, maybe I should get into Bach. Like maybe there's some stuff that happened from these, past few hundred years that like there's other things there that this artist is understanding.
There were some emo dudes. There were some emo Baroque dudes. Like there was,
yes.
Yeah. We've, as a species, we have been feeling sorry for ourselves in art for a long, long time. I hope that's true. I think that's, and I also sort of, I hope that the thing I guess I'm trying to do just for myself is see what if I have a sort of creative essence, see what that sounds like in different spaces. And I'm just really like, I'm just so lucky that people have allowed me to do that and experiment them. No,
it's great. When do you feel like, do you feel most connected to the world outside of your head? Like is it going on the walk? Is it with a guitar in your hand, a paintbrush?
That's a life challenge. Like,
it's okay.
I think you've actually put it really well. Like I don't connect with the world outside my head. The world, it doesn't make as much sense as the chaos inside. I think to be honest, like creating in being older, creating with others is the time at which I feel the most in the world and outside my head because it's the language I speak, and the more I write and play with other people, the more I realize that like that's why as animals, that's why we have this thing like music, that it's just conversation. It's like the best conversation you've ever had, and you can have it with people you super hate as well, which is really interesting. It's like the only thing where you can just have like the best conversation with someone that if you find really annoying in every other aspect. I'm not talking about anyone specific, but
no, I hear you.
it's not dependent on whether you get on it. You can get in a room with somebody and just like fully connect. It's an amazing thing. So I think genuinely, I think it's that. I also noticed that like all anxiety just completely disappears as soon as you start writing a song together. And I think it's that vulnerability thing that you've both just like thrown an idea into the air and essentially just completely exposed yourself. And either one of you could laugh at that idea and you would both just like melt. But when neither of you does that and you start like being like, yeah, and sort of, it's a really beautiful thing. So I think it's probably that, but
yeah. When you were younger and you were kind of exploring the potential possibility of life as an artist, was there a book or music or film that you saw that you were like, oh, if this person can do it, maybe there's hope for me?
If this idiot can do it, then I can probably. Yeah, I think so. I just like, it's a really weird. They're just on my mind at the moment. There was a band. I think it's not. It's because of it's more to do with like seeing myself in them. But there was a band called 100 Reasons that didn't fully make it over to America, but they were from near me, and they looked like people I knew. Like they just sort of they weren't super cool looking. Try not to insult 100 Reasons now, but like they just looked like yeah. And I think their music I sort of rediscovered recently, and emotionally still like has such an impact on me. And I think it was probably bands like that I saw, and I was like, they look like people I could just know. And they weren't just from England, but they were from like Surrey.
Yeah,
because I think so much of what I grew up on was American, and my image of America, which I think comes up in this new record quite a lot, sort of subconsciously. My image of America was mythical and unattainable. So hearing someone that was just from around the corner doing something that felt so like emotionally impactful and of its own, like we had a scene and it had a Surrey sound. So I think that probably impacted me more than I knew at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like when I was playing music, every artist that I like used a Line 6 DL4 pedal.
Yeah.
and they would loop themselves or play something backwards, and you were like, this guy fucking gets it, man.
Whereabouts was that? Where did you grow up?
This was in the Midwest in St. Louis, Missouri. But I moved to New York in around 2004 or so to play music.
Okay.
And I was, so this is when it was kind of cool and edgy to have like a non-traditional instrument in your indie rock band.
Yeah.
So it would be like, we had a violinist, but we weren't like punk rock, nice. And like I played accordion and mandolin and piano and guitar and sang. And it was like all these different things. Like, can we still do this, 7/3 time signature song that's going to be like fun and catchy?
Yeah. I know the era exactly.
Yeah, unfortunately, right?
No, it was a great time. Tilly and the Wall, they had tap dancers.
Yeah.
There was a thing of like, what can we put in this band?
Tilly and the Wall.
No, I think that's it's a really fascinating thing. But I think that there is an interesting. The English American thing is really fascinating to me, because I think it was a real awakening when I first went over and realized that like it was just your Surrey. Like for me, like listening to those bands I mentioned and Death Cab and everyone like that. I just they so effectively painted a mythical suburban America that's just seemed like so magical to me. That it was amazing when I got there and just was like, oh, there's a Walmart right next door to that really cool looking house. And it was really sobering.
Dreams shattered.
Yeah. But then I developed my own relationship with America in its own way, with the real America. And but yeah, so I think that weirdly comes up in this record quite a bit. And sonically, I think I a bunch of 100 Reasons got snuck in there as well.
Oh, yeah. Now we're talking.
Yeah.
We'll let listeners figure that stuff out on their own. Last thing is I want to be conscious of your time. What do you collect stuff? You strike me as a collector.
Do I?
Maybe it was because of the little puppy dog you held up.
Yeah, no, he's just like, he's a special just a special little guy. I don't really. I'm not really like a stuff person. I do collect like music, as in I don't have a vinyl collection, but every day I look for something new. Like I kind of can't stop consuming music. So I would say I'm a little more ephemeral, I suppose, in that sense. Like I don't need physical things, but like I need to be constantly finding new music and art and stuff like that.
New, not as in like something that was just created, but as in like the discovery.
Yeah, a bit of both. Yeah.
Okay.
I just the bank in my head of artists I like. I just want to kind of constantly be filling it. I've got like a weird amount of spinning tops.
Okay.
For like,
I don't collect, but I do have a weird amount of spinning tops.
Well,
all right.
4. Is 4 a collection?
Sure.
I use them for when I'm stemming. It gives me something to do. I hate stemming tracks, so I'd like to.
Yeah.
But sorry, you were about to ask me a question.
No. I was going to say, like, what's a band or what's something that you recently discovered, new or old, that got you excited?
So they're kind of, let me have a think. I think a lot of them aren't necessarily like brand new, but I've recently I've got really into Quinny stuff. She's amazing. And Kate Davis, I think, is amazing. Both American.
Not familiar.
And I'm kind of furious with Christian Lee Hudson.
Yeah, okay. Christian Lee Hudson.
Yeah.
Phenomenal musician.
Yeah, kind of furious about.
Excellent engineer, by the way, for like recording artists. Like really, really good, I think, understanding of utilizing analog recording and not just being a person who lives in Pro Tools and like a miniature soundboard keyboard where they're just programming stuff.
Yeah, stuff sounds amazing.
Yeah, very good. Good guitar tone too.
Oh, it's a crazy tone. And then some of the bands that I guess like inspired this record, like Feeble Little Horse and Slow Pulp, and like this kind of new wave of like slacker, grungy stuff coming out of America that's really exciting. I think that's all really great. Oh God, yeah, I could go on, but yeah.
No, that's great. Well, Keaton, it's been a huge honor and a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you.
Congrats on the new record. Hopefully, are you gonna do any touring? Do you feel like you're gonna do a couple little rounds?
Probably not, but we're trying to figure out something that is going to be doable, like some kind of. But it's just not getting easier. It's getting harder. It's so strange, but
it's also harder to make money touring. I mean, it's weird
too. Yeah, I just I just find it so tough. But yeah, we'll figure something out that I can try and figure out what I can do.
But anyway, Keaton, a huge pleasure.
Just thank you so much for having me. That was really surprisingly unstressful and enjoyable. So thank you for having me.
Thanks again.
Your name, I was always gonna